Looks like we're coming up on YouTube. And let's see if we're coming up on Facebook. Yes. Coming up on Facebook. Look good, looking good. All right, let me get some folks on my YouTube to let me know if they can hear us. YouTube people, or Facebook people. I don't discriminate, YouTube or Facebook. Um, Takes a second for people to start showing up or for this thing to catch up. Hey, Grant. Grant says we can hear you. Guess, could you say hello and let's see if they can hear you?
Hello.
Could you guys hear my guests, David and Grant and Snugs? I could have used my phone. What am I doing? They're all excited. Let's do this. They heard Paula too. Perfect. They already know. Gosh, they took my fire. All right. Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Tim Black. I want to welcome you all to a special edition of the Tim Black Show. I got a special guest tonight, or today. It's daytime. This is an old friend to the channel. I met her back in 2015, 2016. I interviewed her a couple times. She's been on the show before. She's amazing. She's a pioneer. She's a fighter. She ran for the Senate against Joe Manchin in West Virginia. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest, Paula Swearengin. Hey, Paula, how you
Hey
doing?
Tim, how you doing, buddy? I'm doing great.
I'm doing great, man. I'm telling you, isn't it nice weather? It's nice weather in Maryland. I'm sure it's the same in West Virginia.
It's kind of chilly here, but it's a lot warmer than what it normally is, so I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, for January. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, got Paula, you are something else. You are back at it again. I wanted
Yeah.
to invite you back on because I heard you're going to be doing something else crazy. You running for office again.
Yeah, you have to be crazy, I think, to run for office. Yeah, I'm running for the United States Senate. I'm running for Shelley Moore Capito's seat this time. She is a Republican senator for the state of West Virginia.
Wow, wow. Well, like I said, that takes some doing. Now this time you're going against the Republicans. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a little bit different this time.
Yeah.
Paula, it seems like you keep on taking on these people that are deeply entrenched. Um, what kind of a fight will this be? What kind of an obstacle will this Miss Capito be?
Well, we did so well last time as an unknown candidate. We got 30% of the vote against a sitting incumbent in 75 years, and we got more votes than any Republican on the ballot. But, no matter who our president's going to be, we definitely have to have a good, strong Congress behind them. And so especially in the Senate right now, we need more progressive voices. And that's why I decided to run again. We've got more name recognition. We've got a great team this time. And I think we have a true chance of winning. Because West Virginians, we're tired. We're I've said it before. We're thirsty for clean water and we're hungry for change, and it's the truth. People are struggling here with the addiction epidemic. We want a diverse, safe economy. We want a good infrastructure. We want good roads, and we want true representation that's not bought and paid for by corporations. And so I'm still running a people powered, people funded campaign. All of our donations are small donations. It's unlike my opponent who's has less than 2% in small donations. She's been in Congress for over 20 years, and her and Joe Manchin are good friends, and they're all part of that Good Boy Network. And we've seen change here in West Virginia since the last election cycle. I stood up and run. Now we have so many ordinary people running for office. We've got a progressive running for governor. A lot of candidates have sworn off corporate and corporate PAC dollars. It's an
Wow.
amazing time right now in West Virginia.
Wow, the new wave is kind of taking hold, and
Yeah,
people
it has.
realize it's important to get away from the big money interests. I heard that there's something they call Miss Shelley Capito. They call it something about pack. It's was it Cat Pack or Pack Cap or something like
I've
that?
not heard
Yeah,
that.
because she takes so much PAC money, guys.
Yep.
This lady is nothing but corporate donations, special interest money, and we all know Paula. She's grassroots all the way. That's what she does. That's what she's in it for the grassroots and for the people of West Virginia. So, Paula, just to back up a little bit, because I want people to know your story is so amazing. What you were able to do last time, you briefly ran through it. You got 30% of the vote.
Hmm.
How much money did you raise against Joe Manchin to get that 30%?
around $300,000, and he had like 2.5 million in his campaign account.
Ladies and
And
gentlemen,
it
as
was
you hear,
awesome on that small donations.
of course, small donations. So basically, 10 to 15% of the amount of money that he had, and you
Hmm.
got 30% of the vote.
Average donation was $15 to $27.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm talking about. This is why we do what we do, and this is why we keep
Yeah.
showing up for people like Paula to go in and fight their good fight. You know, independent media, we have to connect with candidates like Paula who are doing it. You know, she doesn't have the money for the big teams, guys, but what
Hmm.
she does have is the people. They got
Right.
money, we got people. Okay, so Paula, you raised $300,000. What are some of the lessons you learned about campaigning? Because had you run for office before, or was it new
No, I
to you?
hadn't. Well, one of the biggest lessons, I mean, we were new. I'd never run for office before, so there was a lot of lessons learned. We could have had a better field game. We definitely should have had an air game. But we also, we learned to advertise in unconventional ways, and now we're taking that experience into this campaign, and we've already had over 1,000 people sign up to volunteer. So it's pretty amazing. We've got a great campaign manager. We just hired a field director. She's out in the Eastern Panhandle. Her name is Alexandria. She's awesome. It's an amazing group of people. But I think we learned, outside of a lot of candidates lost last cycle, but we did have wins like Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, which was my slate mate last time, and she is this time. And we did that all without corporate and corporate PAC dollars, but we also changed the conversation, not only in West Virginia, across the country, but internationally. The Knock Down the House, the film where Amy Viella, Corey Bush, myself, and Alexandria is in, it's up for an Oscar right now. So it's pretty amazing because people all over the country know that we're standing up in our country. And even though we're looked down upon because of the Trump administration, they can see that we're standing up in the front lines of our communities and our states, and we're actually fighting back.
That's right, guys. Just to kind of just get refresher, because I hadn't talked to Paula about West Virginia. I plugged in my Netflix and I looked up the movie, guys. Knock Down the House. You got to check it out on Netflix if you haven't checked it out yet. It's going to inspire you. I don't care what your politics is. If you're, I know most people that watch my show are pretty liberal or pretty progressive or pretty independent or what have you. But the story that it tells about these women who are fighting a good fight, man, is something amazing. I think it might motivate you to get involved as well. And it's a great, like Paula. I was telling Paula offline that her appearance in that movie, I think, is going to help raise. I know it's raised her to a new level of awareness, right? It's going to help her big time because she looks so good in that movie. You sound
Aw.
amazing in that movie. Your passion, and that's something that stuck out when I first met you anyway in person. But for the average person who's just getting to know you, I think it's going to be great. It's like a business card, Paula. You say,
Hmm.
hey, go check my movie out. And they go check your movie out. And they're like, oh, now I get it.
It's
So
kind of humbling. I never thought I would be in a movie. But I've been an activist for years, and to be honest, this was not my dream. It's not like I woke up and thought, well, I just want to run for office. I mean, I'm expecting my first grandchild. That's one of the reasons that I decided to run for office again. But I mean, you have to be crazy to go through this. You go through the scrutiny, the publicity. I like to go to the Dollar General in my pajamas. I can't do that anymore. But um,
right, right.
yeah,
Because they're gonna be watching you, right, right. You can't do regular stuff now. It could become a news story.
but it's important. It's important for ordinary people. If you can run for office on a local level to a federal level, I really think it's vitally important to make sure that we have a government that serves us. And talking about my story, if you want me to, I'll go back a little bit. I was born a coal miner's daughter and granddaughter, and I was born into a community called Iroquois. And when I was little, we had like slate. It was coal waste. It was a slate dump that burned over our community, and my water was polluted. It came out of an abandoned coal mine. So our water was orange with a blue and purple film, and it had actually had specks of metal in it. And when my stepdad got laid off in the coal mines, we moved to North Carolina for a while. And I thought my hair was red until I was 12 years old. I didn't know that I wasn't a redhead because of the water. And we came back to West Virginia around 2001. My grandfather was dying of black lung. And my mother came back to take care of him, and I came back to help her. And I lost my daddy to cancer and black lung. My daddy was a Vietnam veteran, and he was exposed to Agent Orange over in Vietnam. And that wasn't really the end of it, because I found out that people were still begging for a clean glass of water. Found out about mountaintop removal. I have to worry about silica dust going into my children's lungs every day and them getting cancer. But I think my biggest awakening was, I had a neighbor. He was a strip miner. He had a 7-year-old daughter, and she had cancer. They said that it was environmental. They really couldn't pinpoint the cause, but they were pumping coal waste in abandoned coal mines underneath, below my community. And so I started fighting. I mean, I did everything. I mean, if I could have cut off my leg, I would have, to hear and talk to anybody that would listen. I spoke to the United Nations. I traveled all over the country talking about mountaintop removal, economic diversity, and clean water. And nobody would challenge Joe Manchin. And he is one of the most corrupt Democrats in Congress. And I got tired of begging, because I felt like that they were paid for by industry. They're paid for by gas and coal, and we had no hope for a future. And it was definitely in time for us to invest in ourselves. And so that's what I did, and that's why I've moved forward with the path again for running for office, is because I can't stand the thought of my grandchild getting cancer. It's a sad day in West Virginia when you go to more funerals than family reunions, and that's a reality for people here. And people live in impoverished conditions comparable to a third world country. The Industrial Revolution was built on the backs of coal miners, their families, and surrounding communities, and they got rich off our backs and left us with breadcrumbs, and they don't hear us. And we need true representation in Congress. The people in Flint shouldn't be begging for clean water. People across this country are struggling, and the biggest problem is, and the root of the cause is money and politics. And I'm running to get money out of politics. And I think that if we're going to have a government by the people, for the people, of the people, we need to step up, and we need to take our government back and have true people servants, and true representatives for, not only in our communities but across the country.
What an amazing story. What a heartfelt story. It gets me, frankly, it gets me pissed off hearing you tell it, though, Paula. I know that at the end of the movie, Knock Down the House, Paul Manchin gives you a phone call, and he says something to the effect of, hey, great job. Congratulations on your run. I appreciate you. Won't you come on over? We can sit down and talk about the issues. Did he ever follow through on that
He
offer
actually
with you?
did. Joe Manchin's a real personal person. He's just really corrupt. And him and I met, and I would not concede. And I didn't, I would definitely wasn't going to endorse him. And he wanted my votes, and he asked me how I could get them. The first thing I told him, he was going to have to earn them with blood, sweat, and tears, like I did. But I told him that, he could go out with, he's on his way out. He said he's not going to run for office, and he could create a legacy, and he could, give up his corrupt ways. And I told him I would sing his praises if he done well. Well, we have a community here called Minden, West Virginia, and they're dealing with PCBs. It's a chemical from a company called Schaefer. And people, not only they're struggling there than most people in the coal fields, because it's like generation after generation, people are dropping like flies. And they want, they've been trying to make it a super fun site and get relocated. And so I took Joe Manchin's staff down into Minden. They were promising them new roofs and new houses, and everybody told them in the community that that's not what they wanted. They just wanted out of there because they were suffering. He promised clean water, a truckload of water, and he promised mobile health clinic from one of the universities. And I heard from people in the community, and they said he brought in a truckload of water, treated them like a charity case, and then they backed out on the mobile health clinic and told them they could go to a sliding scale clinic in Oak Hill, which what that means for them is they can't afford $600 for an x-ray. Even though it's sliding scale, they still can't afford to go to the doctor because they need a higher level of care. So after that, about a week later, he went full MAGA. He said if Donald Trump was going to run again, that he was going to endorse him. So I pretty much told Patrick Morrisey and Joe Manchin they could kiss my ass. And I didn't support either one of them because they're one and the same. They're just, Democrat or Republican. They're bought and paid for by the same people, and they're going to support corruption no matter what.
Corporate interests all the way. When you
Yeah.
talked about the sliding clinic, I don't understand exactly what that means. Is that like people pay different rates depending on how much they make or how much they have?
It's income based, and it's it's
Okay.
it's just it's just little clinics. They don't get they they still don't have access to hospitals. Sometimes people get access to dental care. You can go in for a doctor's appointment. You can get basic services if you have a sinus infection or whatever. But if you have to have blood work done, you have to have X-rays done, or you have to have any type of test done, then it's not affordable. Like I said, $600 for an X-ray in a community like Minden, when people are living, in impoverished conditions like that, they can't afford it. They can barely afford, the $10 to $25 they have to pay to see the doctor. So
Absolutely. Just for the record, guys, Paula supports Medicare for all,
that's right.
minimum wage, a livable minimum wage. What are some other things you support, Paula?
Well, West Virginia is dealing with one of the biggest addiction epidemics in the country, and I want to work with long-term recovery leaders and people that are actually solving the problems and holding big pharma accountable, and actually the true drug dealers, and that's the people in Congress, to end the addiction epidemic in West Virginia. I want to expand our infrastructure. We have to have good roads, good schools. In order to create economic diversity, then we have to have, West Virginia has to have things like clean water and clean air and adequate sewage systems so we can invite other business here. I support the Green New Deal. I support renewables. I fully want to legalize marijuana. The progressive slate, the whole progressive slate. And to me, I don't like dividing labels. To me, progressive means progress. And there's no reason, with this being one of the richest countries in the world, that people can't have basic human rights. And that's what we deserve. And, even like with Medicare for all, not only does it make moral sense, but happy and healthier people are more productive. So it also makes economic sense.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we just have to, there's no reason why we shouldn't be putting our tax dollars into the people in this country.
Well said. I totally agree with you. And when we talk about, you said one of the richest, we are the richest country, probably
Mm-hmm.
the existence of man.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. And I love the fact that you highlight the issues, the environmental issues that impact West Virginia, because we see those all across the board, guys. Lately Flint's been getting a lot of attention the last couple of years, but I have that there are places that have worse water than even Flint, Michigan.
It's true. It's true. It's a sad day when you drink acid mine drainage and that's what's coming out of your tap. And that's a reality for a lot of people. And we've been a bit against each other for basic human rights. It was jobs, jobs, jobs. Those tree huggers, those people that want water. I'm a coal miner's daughter. I think we can have jobs and clean water. Nobody in this country should have to beg for something so basic as a clean glass of water. And that's the thing. We don't have a plan B here in West Virginia. The market for coal, that's the biggest lie any politician can tell. If they say that the market for coal is going to rebound, it's not. It's never going to. It's been declining since the 70s. Their alternative is gas. They're trying to put things like the Appalachian Storage Hub here in West Virginia that houses liquid gas underneath communities, and that's just unacceptable. We're tired of being collateral damage. We can have clean water, we can have clean air, and we can have clean and sustainable jobs. It's been proven that we can put solar and wind on mountaintop removal sites. They're not fit for a rattlesnake, but we can grow hemp on mountaintop removal sites and actually restore that land a little bit. But like I said, if we have good roads, we have good schools, we have an inviting place. If we create an inviting place for West Virginia, for businesses to come to West Virginia, then they'll come here. I mean, the possibilities are endless. We just need visionaries for our future instead of visionaries for our demise.
I hear you. When you talked about the opiate addiction issue, I was reminded that in West Virginia, I think they did a study where they ordered all of these opiates, all of these highly addictive drugs for West Virginia. I don't
Mhm.
understand exactly what they were trying to achieve other than to get people addicted to these drugs. It was like
It's to profit off our backs, just like they did with the coal industry. That's that at point blank. That's what it was. We need to get away from the stigma of addiction too. I know old ladies that went in for hip surgery and they came out and they were addicted because they trusted their medical providers. It's just exploitation of poor people and minorities is exactly what it is, and it's the same thing that they done with industry. You know, West Virginians are stigmatized. We don't have no teeth, no shoes, no brains. So let those people die and we'll just get rich off our heads. But you know what? You've seen with the teacher strike, and you can see with the progressive movement in this state, we're proving to them that we're not collateral damage.
I love it. I love it. And folks, listen to the intersectionality of how poor people, black folks, how we all can band
Yep.
together. And there's a lot of that going on. I got friends over in Appalachia. I got the
Appalachia.
Appalachia. There you go. Thank you so much, Appalachia. And the issues that affect the inner city affect urban areas, non-urban areas, rural areas. It's all the same stuff, man. We're all expendable when it comes down to it, to corporate interests.
That's right.
Paula, what is the job situation in West Virginia? Is industry coming? So the coal, Trump said, "I'm gonna bring the coal jobs back." I don't think he was able to do that, as you just
No, he
explained.
wasn't. And the biggest employer in West Virginia is Walmart. And Boone County, West Virginia can't even sustain Walmart. So that kind of lets you know the economic outlook of what's going on with this state right now. Fast food, people work in fast food. That's why we have to fight for a living wage, because people here work 2 and 3 and 4 jobs just and still can't pay their rent, put food on their table.
Absolutely. What do you think about a federal jobs guarantee? Is that something that you support?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's part of job creation, and in guaranteeing jobs. Like I keep saying, and I mean over and over, we just have to invest in our people. I don't understand why. You hear, oh, well, democratic socialism. Socialism is, I think it is a dividing word, but to me, it's not socialism. It's just basic human rights. We all pay taxes. So why can't our tax dollars, why can't we spend a little bit of that money on the people instead of buying $300,000 couches, in congressional offices? It doesn't make sense.
Right. Or a space force, right?
Right,
Or
right.
these
An
things.
inflated military budget.
Yeah. Speaking of a military budget, the incumbent Shelley Capito, I know that she supports our military profusely. What are your thoughts? And we didn't talk about it, but what are your thoughts about what happened with the strike that happened in Iran recently?
Capito voted for the Iraq War in AMUF. She's a rubber stamp for Trump's dangerous foreign policy. That's why I'm running for Congress too, is put congressional authority back into Congress and end our never-ending wars. I'm petrified right now. I have 4 kids. I'm expecting my first grandchild from my second born. I never dreamed that I would live in a country that would send our children to war for meaningless wars. But then I also feel like they're at war against us. Does that make sense? Because it's people are going to die. If there's a war because of this, it's people are going to die for needless reasons, and it doesn't make sense.
And one of the things that petrifies me about it is that we know that there won't be a traditional type of war like you see in the movies. It's going
Hmm.
to be more terrorist activity, things of that nature. That's the way that they fight back against a behemoth like the United States. So that's
And
what
it's
we got to.
abuse of power. It's
Oh,
a
oh yeah.
total abuse of power, and people are going to suffer because of it.
At an airport in another country. I don't. It's an assassination. It's not war. I don't.
Yeah.
So Paula, I don't know. What about Capito? I know that she's from a very powerful family. I think her father was governor. Is that correct?
Yeah, Archmore was her dad, and he was really corrupt, and I think he got into some financial trouble. It's kind of personal with me too, because I guess people don't hold somebody accountable for what their parents did, but she definitely lives on her daddy's dirty throne, and that's why she is in Congress. She would never have made it to Congress if it wasn't for her dad.
And look,
And
and just want to say, guys, that's not Paula smearing her. She didn't go into Congress until her dad passed away in
that's
2015.
right.
So it's a connection. It was like, okay, the dad passed away, and then his daughter was elected to the Senate. So it's not Paula smearing that. It just you connect the dots. It just looked like sort of like nepotism to me. Like, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Paula, but the
You're exactly
influence.
right. And I mean, here's the kind of things that happened when he was our governor, and this is one that's really personal for me. Is the Buffalo Creek disaster in 1972. They were 3-story impoundments that housed coal waste. It's liquid coal waste that's housed in like an earthen dam. There's like one permitted right now. It's like 3.1 billion gallons that sits in Boone County called the Marcy Fork impoundment. Well, one of those impoundments burst. It killed It left over 10,000 people homeless. 100 and some people died. And a good friend of mine, he was 7 years old in that flood, and his baby sisters was washed out of his mother's arms, and one of the bodies was never recovered. And instead of going after industry, because the industry knew that those dams was going to break, and they did not evacuate that community, Arch Moore called it an act of God. Um, and like I said, we can't fault her for what her daddy did, but she lives off his dirty legacy. And I think we're tired here in West Virginia, especially, of voting for the lesser of two evils, not having choices. That's why we're standing up and running for office. Nobody should have to, get rich off our backs, especially with a corrupt legacy like that.
Is West Virginia? It's people imagine it to be this most very conservative place, but didn't they vote for Bernie Sanders in 2016 in the
Yeah,
primaries? During the primary?
Bernie won all 55 counties, and I'll tell you why I think that Donald Trump won West Virginia. We have more independents and Democrats versus Republicans registered in this state. But our super delegates, Joe Manchin, our former Secretary of State, Natalie Tennant, our treasurer, John Perdue, people like that, where our super delegates strip the vote away from the people in West Virginia. That's not a motivator to get people to the polls. And that, when people don't think their vote matters, they didn't want Hillary Clinton here. So they didn't go to the polls because they didn't like Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. Bernie won all 55 counties in West Virginia. It only proves that the people here are sick and tired and we want change.
Right. Absolutely, and we've seen that play out in other places,
Mm-hmm.
Wisconsin, Michigan, and we know how that played out. I'm surprised you didn't say Russia. I thought you were going to say it was Russia. That's why they things didn't work out in West Virginia. Maybe Putin made a visit to Russia. I don't know. I don't think he.
Our current governor, he's a Republican, Jim Justice, one of the biggest polluting coal barons in West Virginia. Joe Manchin recruited and campaigned for him, but in order for him to win the state of West Virginia, he had to run as a Democrat, and he changed his party affiliation after he got into office because he knew that he could not win West Virginia unless he was a Democrat. This state has actually been known as a Democratic state. I think, like I said, people have just not been going to the polls. They've not been voting because they don't feel like their government works for them and they don't feel like it matters. But like I said, the whole dynamic is changing. People are running for office. People are getting motivated to get back to the polls. And people are seeing that, you just can't lay complacent. You have to stand up and you have to fight back. And West Virginia is fighting really hard right now.
It sounds like to me that West Virginians just need another voice. They need Paula Swearengin. They need somebody in there that's going to actually fight for them, who's not for special interests. Joe Manchin. I seen him on TYT, and I know you've been on TYT as well. He was trying to do a little bit of damage control. I'm just glad that we got you early this time. I feel like I was kind of late to the game with you back in
Mm-hmm.
2016 and kind of getting it started, kicked off, guys. Where can people go, Paula, to find out more about your campaign and contribute?
You can find me on Twitter, Paula Jean 2020. On Facebook, Paula Jean Swearingen, Paula Jean 2020. And you can also go to my website, paulajean.com.
Amazing. I appreciate you so much,
Oh, I
Paula.
appreciate you too, buddy. Thank you. I mean, if it wasn't for people like you raising their voices, that the corporate media kind of blacks out on progressive candidates
Yeah.
and ordinary individuals like myself. So it's important. The work that you're doing is important, and I can't thank you enough.
Wouldn't be a reason to do it if it wasn't for people like you running to give me hope.
Mm.
You inspire me. The thing about it, Paula, is so many new candidates, I don't know much about them, but folks
Mm-hmm.
like you, I know you, Paula. Like I said,
Yeah.
you're a friend of mine. So I know what you're about. I know what your interests are. There are people out there, and I don't want to put you on a bad spot, but like that Richard Ojeda guy, I heard like some really old. Am I saying his name right? I know T1.
Ojeda.
Ojeda, yeah,
Ojeda.
yeah. I've heard some really bad things about him, and I never talked to him, but that's just an example of the things I've heard about him. He's
Mm-hmm.
not the type of guy that I would want to put my support behind, and that's the thing. When you bring somebody on your platform, all of a sudden that
Mm-hmm.
person becomes like a representative of what you stand for. But when
We
I
need
bring,
true progressives. We don't need
there you
fake
go.
progressives that voted for Donald Trump, changes their mind with the win. They like universal health care. They don't want universal health care. They thought they won't take corporate money, but if you look at their FEC filings, they're taking corporate money. That's kind of an example with Richard Ojeda. And also, he deserted his Senate seat for a glory run for president. So, I mean, there's a lot of that, and there's a lot of that across the country. And I really advise voters to do their research. don't listen to, everybody can give a good speech, but not everybody's genuine and not everybody's honest. And, since, Joe Manchin was saying he ran a grassroots campaign. Patrick Morrissey said his campaign was grassroots. They can say anything to win your votes, but do your actual research. Because it's, they try to pick up, but progressivism is popular because everybody's seeing that we can actually have a government that works for us, and so they're going to say anything to win your votes. So please, please, please research your candidates and see who is funding them, because you know what, Microsoft is not going to max out and give a candidate $2,800 for nothing.
Yeah. Absolutely, they're not. They always want something back for. Where I come from, people, they spend money for reasons. Like, they don't just give money just to give it because they're being the kindness of their heart. When it comes to corporations, that's how they got rich to begin with, is by making investments. So in the future, they get a return on their investment. And I was really disappointed to hear about Richard Ojeda, but I'm really glad to have people like you and Senator Nina Turner. She was just on the show, and I trust you guys. I know what you're about. I know what your campaigns are about. So
yeah, you make sure when you're checking that box and you're supporting a candidate, if they're elected, when they put their feet on the desk, they owe nobody but you, and that's how you should look at elections.
That's it, guys. Look up Paula Swearengin. You can't miss her. She's on Twitter. She's on. We got the new website up yet, Paula? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
PaulaJean.com.
PaulaJean.com. That's it, man. She's also with Brand New Congress and.
Yep, the Brand New Congress. I've not made any decisions about anybody else, but yeah, definitely Brand New Congress.
Okay, fantastic.
And look at the slate with Brand New Congress too, because if you want to support, real people funded, people powered campaigns, there's a whole new slate running with Brand New Congress. And actually, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is back on our slate this time too.
There you go. I hope she has the opportunity to come out and help campaign for you. I think that would give you a real boost as well. I just want to check comments real quick. 99 Nation Video says, can all of you contribute to Paula soon? And that's a question to everybody watching. Larry the Truth says scum Democrats are pushing for war again. Paula's not pushing for war.
That's right.
99 Nation Videos. Question for Paula: have you campaigned cold job losses, conversions with state-specific job replacements? Are the people excited? What's your take about state-specific job replacements?
Well, that's why we have to create economic diversity here. Because, like I said, if we in some areas in the state, we don't even have adequate sewage systems. We don't have expansive broadband, and that's part of the key to economic development here in West Virginia. We have to have expansive broadband. We have to have good roads. We have to have good schools, and we have to create an infrastructure to invite business here. But like I said, we can invest in renewables. We can invest in hemp. And if we legalize cannabis, we would see economic growth in West Virginia within 6 to 8 months. On a federal level, not only would that help West Virginia, but that would help this whole country. And it would also end, mass incarcerations and people going to jail for petty crimes like marijuana. It's medicine. Let people grow it. I mean, we've got bigger fish to fry, and we just have to end, it's just a corrupt system. But like I said, the possibilities in West Virginia are endless, but we have people pre-positioned financially in our demise, and we have to elect officials that are actually going to represent us, and they're visionaries for our future.
That's it, guys. Go to PaulaJean.com, contribute to this campaign. Paula's going to come back soon. And Paula, look, you're not too far from me. We could always set something up. I could come down and hang out with you, and we can film it and just try to get more publicity for your campaign.
That'd be great.
I mean, you're a movie star now, so I don't know if you got time for me, but I'm hoping.
I'm not, what, people call me a celebrity. I'm just one of us trying to fight for us. It's just that my face is out there, and hopefully one day I'll get to enjoy my grandchildren, and we'll have other progressives and real people servants out there that's going to fight right behind me, and I can work behind the scenes and help them. It's just it's a necessary evil for me right now. I said it's not my life goal. I don't want to go to DC, but if I go, I'm going to scream, I'm going to fight, and I'm going to fight for all of us. I'm not. It's hard. It's hard to run for office, and if I ever get there, it's going to I'm going to fight for everything that I fought for years.
That's right. I was just picking with you, Paul. I know you good people. I know you down to earth. I ain't worried about you. All right, guys. Look, go to PaulaJean.com, find on Facebook and Twitter, and become a part of the movement, guys. It matters. Paula, thank you for your time, sister.
Thank you so much.
You got it. All right, guys, that's it. I'll see you tonight at 10
Bye,
p.m.
everybody.
Eastern Standard Time. It's Freedom Friday. Anybody can call up, be a part of the show. Find me at timblacktv.com. Until then, don't let nobody take your cornbread and sprinkle some facts on it. All right, now. And we